Welcome to GouldFish on Games, where today I want to cover something that we've not done in over 3 years. So let's check out my game dev projects. Long-term viewers might remember that back in 2018 I was working on a MegaDrive game, and that game was Mega Atoms, and I did 4 videos on its progress, and then, well, the videos suddenly stopped. The reason was that the game was mostly done, and it was just polish, and most devs will agree that that last 10% is the hardest. And quite often that's when you'll start on a new project because it's more interesting. And yes, that happened with me as well. On top of that, things also got quite busy with work. So where are we with Mega Atoms? Well, I managed to find time to do that additional polish, and I'm ready to release version 1.0. And you can grab it from the GitHub page. I'll provide the link to it in the description. And if you go to the site, you can then go to the release page and download the zip. This will include a small readme and a ROM that you can use in your favourite emulator or even put it on a flash card. The changes from the last version aren't all that massive, but I do think it gives that final level of polish. The music no longer pauses between the screens, and when in game, the board now updates at a much smoother rate, so the whole game feels smoother and much nicer. I also rebalanced the challenge mode, so it should also play a lot better as well, and there are some tweaks and improvements to some of the artwork as well, but again, nothing groundbreaking, but I think it just levels out the project and leaves it in a great place where I'm happy to call it done. Unless someone finds some groundbreaking bug or something, then yes, there might be another update. So what was that other project I was hinting at? Well, if you happened to be following me on Twitter at the time, you would have actually seen some images and some videos of it, and that is a port of XOR to the MegaDrive. Now, I mostly started this to learn how to do scrolling, which requires you to load up new tiles just ahead of where you're scrolling to, which was quite interesting and a lot of fun. And then as I was going, I also found out I was having a lot of enjoyment out of writing the various logic systems and gameplay bits. Now, if you've not enjoyed XOR, or if you've not watched either of the videos I played it in, which was the CPC 464 and the Acorn RISC PC 600, then you wouldn't know that the goal of the game is to collect the masks. The total is shown on the HUD on the side, as are the number of steps that you've taken so far, and if that hits 2000, then you fail. Now, to aid you in this, you actually have 2 heroes that you can switch between at any time, and in some of the maps you'll have to switch between them quite a bit, as there's various other tiles that will move and interact with each other depending on what you do. There are fish that will fall down and chickens that will fly across the screen, and then you have these different bomb types as well. So you have to plan how to use and in some instances avoid all these different tiles, as they are all very important in completing the mazes that will await you. At this time, the game actually has all the levels from the original game, and with all the tile types that should act exactly as they did in the original game. Now, the current version also includes some pre-recorded playthroughs of all the maps, so you can actually just tell it to play the map and it will complete it on its own, which helped massively in the development, as it highlighted all sorts of logic failures, as things didn't move in quite the right order. One of the things that I did that I was quite happy with was how it moved some of the icons between being tiles on the background or being a sprite when in motion. This made it so much easier to get things to move smoothly when in motion and then not use up all the sprites when they were static. It also meant I could have an unlimited number of these on the screen at once. I also made sure the movement was calculated so it should be almost identical between playing it on a PAL machine and an NTSC, with the PAL version getting to see just a little bit more map as well. So I was trying to make the best of both machines. On top of that, I also managed to squeeze in 2 extra tile sets. The first being based on the iconic Sega series, with Sonic and Tails being the 2 heroes who have to go along and collect those animated rings, and with all the other tiles being suitable badniks as well. I also added a YouTuber set with icons from some of my favourite YouTubers that I followed at the time, which was about 3 years ago now. This is another project that sort of hit that 90% done barrier, with at this point the main bits that are missing are the letters that the game would show up when you finished a level, which you would use to try and decode the secret message that you'd see on the final level. I also need to block off some of the levels until you've finished specific ones already. I think the game is perfectly playable in its current state, but I do think there are a few bugs in there that I've not stumbled across yet. And one of the best bits in doing all this is I learned how to make much better use of the hardware. And some of that actually came back to Mega Atoms, which is where the improved screen updates came from. So if you do want to check this out, there'll be a link to its GitHub page, which you can then go download it, exactly like Mega Atoms. So is that it? Well, judging by how much time is left in this video, I guess it's not. So what have I been doing? Well, I've been getting back into programming again, and managed to find time to port Atoms to another platform, and this time it's to the Master System. This is still very early days. So far I've got the title screen up with a very funky palette animation. I was very proud of that. There is also the player select screen, where you might notice the artwork is based on the updated MegaDrive version, and it also has both the human and robot options. And make it through those screens and you'll get into the classic mode. It has all the game logic in place, with both the players and the AI being able to take turns. It is a little bare at the moment as I've not yet implemented any of the animated atoms or showing an icon for the current player. So at the moment it's only the colour changing on the cursor that lets you know who the current player is. Now if you played any of the other version of Atoms, all of this should be instantly recognisable. It is cut down from that MegaDrive version, and I don't think I'll be able to get too much more on the screen as it is, but it has been a lot of fun working within the constraints of that hardware, as you can only have 32 colours on screen out of a tiny amount of 64 colours in the system palette. This has resulted in some odd colour choices, but hopefully they do all work. Once again, this is written in C, using DevKit SMS, which is a nice library but does require you to do more work in trying to get it going, as there isn't a data pipeline like SGDK's ResComp, so you will have to write something to help, which I did in PowerShell because, well, it's my go-to scripting language, which is using a JSON file to help control the data that gets built for the game. The script itself is relatively game and setup agnostic, with just a few variables that helps it understand where all the various libraries, tools and compilers live. There is still some more work that needs to be done on it, but it's been a massive help so far in getting me going. And I've probably spent just as much time on it as I have the game, which is not entirely unsurprising considering I'm a build engineer by trade. So you might be asking, why port Atoms again? Well, I actually use it as the first thing I do whenever I mess around with a new platform, as I have pretty decent source code and art, so all I really need to do is learn about the hardware as well as the library itself. Which means I'm not trying to design a game while also trying to learn the hardware at the same time. With the theory going, once I know the hardware, then I can go and create an original game afterwards, using everything that I learnt. Though what tends to happen is I'll go off and make the same game on another platform. I really need to get out of that habit. Hopefully by the time this video goes live there will be a GitHub page for it, so you can go and find the ROM and read me inside of it, or check out the source code if that's interesting to you. But I've learnt from the previous videos that I'm not going to make any promises. The initial release as well as the updates will come when they come. And this is pretty much only done when I'm actually feeling the urge to be creative and do some programming. But to be honest, most of the time when I'm feeling creative, that energy goes into making videos. So trying to find the time between video production, enjoying my free time, doing game dev projects as well as work is pretty hard, and getting that balance right isn't all that easy. So hopefully you've enjoyed these fun little projects, and if you have any feedback then you can either leave comments here or on the various GitHub pages. And until next time, I was the GouldFish, that was the many forms of atoms, and this was GouldFish on Games. Thank you for watching my video, I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can let me know down in the comments, or you can use those buttons just below, you know the ones I mean. Or if you're not sure yet, then you can check out 2 other videos that I've done that are on the screen right now. So thank you again, and I hope to see you soon.